earlier in the podcast that I am now, after like 8 tries, I think I've found my major. And kids, that's how you met your major, right? I've found it. I think I have. And it's communications. Okay. And so I've been taking a couple communications classes this quarter. And in one of my classes, the professor brought up this whole idea of like this. He has a take on accents. And I kind of wanted to share it with you because I think it's interesting. He said accents are beautiful. And I was like, okay, like I would like to see you explain why. And basically what he said, and it makes sense. We make fun of people with accents even though they're the ones who have to make the effort to communicate with us. And by us, I mean like the majority of the culture that knows English or, grew up with English as their first language, like I did. You know, that, like, that in itself was like, huh, like they have to make an effort. Like, like you think of like your Indian parents, like most of them didn't grow up with English as their first language. Maybe they did. To be fair, India, does have great education in terms of English, and they were colonized by the British, so there is a lot of English influence for sure. But maybe, hypothetically your parents are from China, right? Or from Taiwan or Korea. Their first language was most likely not English. Their first language was probably whatever dialect or whatever language they spoke in their particular region of the country. And they had to make that extra effort to learn another language. I mean, dude, those of you that took a foreign language in high school know how fucking hard it is to learn another language. Like, that's no joke. It is no joke to learn Spanish. So I thought I was cruising through Spanish, and then I took Spanish 2. I mean, for those of you that listen to my late night story, yeah, I mean, I didn't really try in Spanish 3, but in Spanish 2, we got to subjunctive tense, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm out, chief. Like, this makes no sense, right? Like, and I was 14 years old, right? And I feel like, I mean, yeah, you can pick up languages really easy when you're young, and that 100% is, a skill. Um, but like when you get older, it's really hard to learn languages. And the fact is, most of our parents and most of these older figures that we know in our lives, who are minorities and that have thick accents, are struggling, but are still making a real clear effort to learn English. And we still make fun of them. That makes no sense, right? Like, take that, but apply it to a different context. So let's talk about math. Pretend like this was math class for a second, right? And you had a learning disability and you're in calculus and you're trying to learn what an integral is. And everyone is like in the class is just making fun of you, like, ha ha, like you can't learn what an integral is, even though you have this learning disability. So it makes it 5 times as harder for you to learn that, right? It's the same shit. It's just different. It's the same stuff with accents, right? It's like you are already at a disadvantage in this country because of the fact that you came from somewhere else and you had to learn that culture. And now you're learning this whole new culture and this whole new language. Yeah. Yeah. So all of a sudden I started thinking to myself, I was like, damn, is it wrong that I do the Indian accent? Like, is it wrong? Is it incorrect of me to make fun of people who have Indian accents? And like, here's what I'll say. I don't necessarily think that me doing an Indian accent, I'd say imitating in air quotes, my dad, because I don't really think he has an accent, or my mom, like imitating them with accents. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I feel like my intent isn't necessarily to be like, oh, like you're, not an English language learner or whatever. And they don't have accents. So I just like do it. And I feel like if you are that certain race and you're making fun of like your people, I think that's cool. Like, I think that's fine to make fun of South Asians. But if I was making fun of like a Vietnamese man who was, learning English and I did the Vietnamese accent, yeah, I mean, it's slightly more, it's all context at the end of the day, I feel like. And that's my nuanced take, I guess, on accents is I recognize, like, before we laugh and make fun of people who are, who have thick accents and who are trying to speak English as best as they can. Like, we got to learn that like these people are probably multilingual, which is more skill in terms of language than you probably have ever had in your life. So it's like, good for you, bro. Cause like I just think back to like me trying to learn Spanish in high school and like, wow, that was hard. Imagine they have to do that, right? Like, look at our Indian parents. Most of them know like 3, 4. 5, 6 different languages. That's insane. And we just take that shit for granted. Like, we're like, "Oh, yeah, like, she grew up there and then moved there and there and there, and she just kinda picked up the languages." And we still make fun of their accents. Like, hold up. Like, let's take it back for a second and be like, "Damn, like, that's impressive that you already know that many languages and you're learning another one on top of that." And, like, yeah, you may get your words wrong sometimes, but you're pretty damn good at speaking English too. Like, yeah, your accent may be off. Like, you may say the wrong word at the wrong time, or like, it may be difficult to understand you. But I think we should be making that effort. And that's what my professor was trying to argue, was like, maybe you should make more of an effort to like understand people with accents, because they are making an effort to communicate with you. So why don't you communicate with them? So why don't you make that extra effort to make sure that they're understood? And I was like, huh, that's a very interesting thought to think about. And I know that was an incomplete thought, but it's something I've been marinating over the last couple of days, and I thought I would share. So that's my nuanced take on accents. Let's go to our